going to find out.
Johnson is the former governor of New
Between
Mexico.
Hillary and Trump, you would go Trump.
No.
It's not
I would
that.
go asteroid.
Would you?
I hope an asteroid hits.
You'd go Hubbard. OT3.
I don't like either one of them.
No,
I'm in a bad
I agree
place.
with what you said about it took a orange-haired casino magnate, with pathological lying issues,
Orange
to
skin.
point out the truth about
Yeah.
the brokenness of the American.
Yeah, Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. Bill Weld is his vice president.
Okay.
I think we're in a bad place with either one of them because either one of them are exposing the ridiculous aspects of our society and the ridiculous aspects of our political establishment, our political system. It's just not a good system. Representative government doesn't make any sense when people can represent themselves. It made sense back when it was impossible to get word to Washington how all these people felt. But now that people, you're almost saying by continuing representative government in 2016, you're almost saying that, well, you can't have one person, one vote. Because people are too fucking stupid for that. I mean, you're almost saying that.
Well, maybe they are.
But are they? And if that's the case, we need to fix that instead of just continuing business as usual. We need to figure out how to expand our educational system or enlighten some of these people, or maybe drop mushrooms everywhere or something. There's got to be a better way than just continuing business as usual when that business has been shown, at least in Hillary Clinton's case, to be completely corrupt.
Do you think Obama? How would you rate Obama?
I like him as a human. What I like about Obama is he's measured, he's intelligent, and I think there's one thing that has to be said. I mean, as much as when you look at politics, you look at someone who's running the president, there's a lot of speculation. How much power does he have? What is it like behind closed doors? What are those meetings like? Like Sam Harris is an interesting point. He's like, is Obama a guy who was lying all along, or when he was running for president and then gets in office and does different things like keeps Guantanamo Bay open and doesn't leave Iraq and all the different things that he sort of reneged on? Or is it that you become president and then you are briefed and then someone sits down and explains to you the horrific nature of the outside world, and here are the threats to civilization itself, here are the threats in terms of terrorism, in terms of these different dictatorships that are seeking to gain nuclear arms, and here's some real problems, and here's the strategies, and here's what we have to do, and here's why we can't do what you promised. There's that too. I don't know. We don't know. But what Obama does represent, and here's what trickles down, is as a man, he's very measured. He's very intelligent. He's very articulate. He doesn't lose his cool. He doesn't respond to nonsense. Mm-hmm. And the speeches that he gives are they're a great representative of education, of dignity, of a guy who speaks very well, and a guy who is smarter than most people that you know. I think there's something to be said for that. And I think that is what George Bush wasn't, and that was what was appealing to me about Obama. But, but he bullshits too, So it's like, at what point in time do you get to speak your mind? Do you ever get to say what you really think? And if that's what he really thinks, if that's who he really is, when you're a politician, you are almost required to try to play this game of not pissing people off over expressing your true feelings on things. Like you've got to kind of play it as much down the middle. You know that there's going to be a bunch of people on this side that are going to hate you. There's going to be a bunch of people on that side that don't think you're going far enough. But you shoot down the middle and you get the best results. It's almost like pretending to be someone who you're not to try to pick people up at a bar. Like it's a bullshit act, and that's what politicians are. They're bullshitters. They're really good at bullshitting. What's bizarre about Trump is that he's not doing that. This is who he is.
I think that's true. I think, but to go to your point about whether people are stupid or not, I think that's an unkind way of phrasing it.
I'm an unkind dude.
But actually, no one has the time. We have jobs to do, and to be informed on all the subjects you would need to be informed on, to make the right decisions, to run the country. No one has the time.
It's a very good point.
We need people to specialize in these things, and it's like Brexit was a triumph of, in the UK when it was put to the vote, this massive decision on whether to be part of the EU. No one in that space of time, as a member of the electorate, could educate themselves to the point where they could make an informed choice on that. And so people thought, you know what, I just want to have something different. Let's vote for a change. And we had Brexit with I would argue, disastrous results.
Well, temporarily disastrous, but to be seen whether or not it's
Well, I guess
ultimately
so.
disastrous.
Yeah, I
my
mean-
friend Steve Hilton, who's a very bright guy, who's been on this podcast before, he was David Cameron's right-hand man. He actually is a supporter of Brexit.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that he had a problem with Cameron over. They had a falling out. I want to talk to him, sit down with him. I don't know enough of it. I don't really follow any politics. I barely follow the United States. I didn't know what the fuck Brexit was until it was going down and everybody was saying it was the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I feel as though it's easy to go along with the groupthink, but I was in favor of staying in Europe.
Well, when I'm talking about representative government, what I'm talking about is like this electoral college setup and the one person, one vote setup, and the idea that 300 plus million people are going to be represented by just a handful of people.
I
that
agree
represent
with
each
that.
state.
Yeah, I mean the whole and the way in which Bernie Sanders was marginalized, I think, and likewise, you know, in a way, the fact that Trump could run away with it is I mean, it's just fascinating how he managed to overturn the apple cart. I haven't really grappled with the minutiae of how U.S. democracy works, but it seems to me like it's a really bizarre, arcane system with the delegates and whatnot.
Exactly.
Who came up with that?
Well, they came up with it back when there was no communication. They came up with it back when you had to take a horse and you had to carry a handwritten letter across the country to communicate with people. And that is ineffective. They had to figure out how to have people in your various states and various counties and various districts represent the greater good of the people and also have the ability to decide over the rest of the people. That's one of the things that people don't even realize. In representative government, when you have this one person who represents a group of the people, if the group decides to vote for Hillary Clinton, that one person doesn't have to agree with that. It's a weird, funky
really
system.
weird. It's
and
really
it's
weird.
designed for back when people were illiterate, and there's a bunch of farmers and pilgrims and savages that came over from Europe on rafts and made it to America and just fucking have at it. And they're trying to manage this and trying to figure out how to take the founding fathers' ideas and best keep it all together while they're exploring this whole new world and dealing with governing these people that were literally thousands of miles away that you couldn't even reach. We can do that now. I mean, instantaneously, someone can send a Facebook message. They can send an email. They can tweet. You can find out what people's opinions are. But then it becomes whether or not these people are qualified to decide which direction the country goes. Well, if they're not qualified, we should probably figure out what the fuck we can do to make people more aware of what are the consequences of all these different decisions that are going to be made by our politicians. Because there's a lot of stuff that gets made when it comes to disastrous implications for the environment. I mean, when Obama was in office, he set so much in order or so much in motion that environmentalists and people that are against offshore drilling, I mean, there's a lot of fracking and offshore drilling and all sorts of things that could potentially have disastrous implications that were set forth by him that no one had any say in. No person in America that was just a regular citizen had any say in these major decisions. Like, Mark Ruffalo just tweeted something about all the different offshore oil rigs that Obama had agreed to while he was in office, and it's disturbing.
Really, that's interesting. I have to say, as someone who resides in the UK and who's more used to the British system, the biggest shock when you come over here is during the election cycle, the amount of money that gets spent and the length of the campaigns, and for all its flaws, in Britain, there's a cap on how much they can spend on their campaigns. So they have like 1 or 2 TV ads each and then a couple of posters, but they do not do anything on the scale of what happens here. And the amount of money that gets spent here is just insane. So it does seem it has all the hallmarks of a broken system, I would say.
Well, not only that, there's 2 recognized parties, and anything else you're throwing your vote away. That's the implication. That's how people think. And Tom Rhodes friend of mine was in. He lived in Holland for quite a while, and he was talking about the variety of candidates to choose from in Holland, and how they just have so many different people. They have conservative liberals, they have conservative Green Party candidates, they have liberal Green Party candidates. They have, I mean, it just goes across this just wide range of different philosophies on how to govern, and people get a better sense of, you know, what they would like or what they agree with most. Because this hardline right and hardline left and this rigid ideology that you have to subscribe to on both sides. Like, if you're on the right, you don't support gay marriage, you're anti-abortion, you're this, you're that, you want gun rights, you want this, you know, fuck immigration. You know, there's all this stuff that you have to kind of agree to if you agree to the right. And then on the left, you have to agree to a lot of things that people, you know, not necessarily agree as well. So it's so complicated to have a two-party system and try to pretend that there is a real democracy. And it's not really democracy.
No.
Representative government.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean that's for sure.